Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard.
Greetings.
Oh,
Hi, Devin.
am I coming through okay?
You're coming through great. Friends, welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today we have Devin Stasinski.
Stachinsky.
Stasinski?
Stachinsky.
Stasinski. Is that better?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, we have Devin from the North Dakota Heritage Party going to talk about his party today. So welcome, Devin.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. Let us get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
Sure. So, I'm not originally from North Dakota. I came to this great state when I came out here for college, and I've loved it ever since, and it's a great place to work and to raise a family. It's very much I'm gonna do me, you're gonna do you, and everybody peaceably kind of just does their own thing mentality. But your neighbors will definitely loan you a cup of sugar if you need it. Very old school.
So what city in North Dakota are you living in right now?
I'm currently in Fargo. Some of our current members are from Jamestown, up north of Minot. We'd love to get members from up by Grand Forks and out in Bismarck and all around. But I mean, we're very much just starting out. So
Okay,
we're working with what we can get so far.
fair enough. So kindly tell us, since you mentioned your love in North Dakota, what made you start this party?
So I guess part of our concerns for North Dakota is, even though North Dakota is, plus 90 R, we still recognize that there's issues that the current political paradigm in the state is refusing to address. And we're very much of the Teddy Roosevelt school of thought, where the government should be a neutral arbiter between states or between contracts, and then it leaves you alone the rest of the time. But if it's not listening to you at all, then something kind of needs to be done about it. Because there are, kind of like at the federal level, there's a few politicians that they'll absolutely listen to their constituents and follow the will of the people in that regard. But I mean, you have, like, even here in Fargo, you have the school board versus basically the rest of the parents when it comes to certain mandates in terms of COVID. So the fact that the will of the parents is being completely rejected, but even the local school board, just they're not listening at all, shows that we have room to improve in the state in terms of getting anybody who's an elected official, school board, mayor, governor, what have you. Clearly there's a populist element that is lost because they think their will supersedes the will of their constituency. And we don't like that at all. Very much like, what's the word? It'll come to me later. But anyway, that's basically where our train of thought comes from for developing this party. I mean, we have a lot of, at current, more right-leaning libertarian individuals as members. So a lot of our policy is basically, yeah, we recognize that the government has its main functions, military, police, fire department, what have you, but it shouldn't be running your life in other aspects. And there's not a whole lot of that out here, but we notice it's starting to creep in. And we'd like to be a force that changes that direction back to the onus on the individual. Like, I don't want the government telling me how to raise my daughter. Most parents don't want the government telling them how to raise their children, and they shouldn't. And that's where we come from.
Sounds good. So who is your target audience? Who are you trying to attract to the party?
Mostly independents, because if you ask the average North Dakotan, they'll say yes, they're Republican. But if you really get into the meat and potatoes of what they truly espouse, it's a lot of libertarian self-determination, rugged individualism type of mentality. And we're getting to a point now in North Dakota where, your biggest industry in the state is oil. So the oil interest and some of the industrial agricultural side of things are really they take the fore. Like, their will has a lot more weight than, say, me, the average citizen sitting here in Fargo.
All right, sounds good too. So what is the leadership structure of your party? Is it like other parties or is it different?
Well, the leadership structure that we're trying to put in place for our organization is a lot like how the National FFA organization has their organizational structure. Me and our sergeant at arms / parliamentarian, we were both big in the FFA, and it's a very clean structure of order to conduct business and to make sure people's needs are being heard during meeting times, that there's enough outreach, that there's enough information coming out from us about what's going on. So that's what we're modeling our current hierarchical structure around. So hopefully that serves us well. The National FFA organization is coming up on 100 years now, so they seem to got it figured out.
So you follow Robert's Rules of Order?
Yes. We haven't had any official meetings yet, as there's only the four of us who are actual members trying to get that off the ground. So there's myself, there's Carl, who is our Sergeant at Arms parliamentarian. There's Lucas, he is going to be our media outreach guy. And then Nick, who is our treasurer. And that's what we've got at the start. We'd love to get more members in and helping, but we're very much just starting out. We have a website being worked on right now that should go live in a month. It's slated for going live on December 1st.
December 1st of 21?
Yes, of 21.
That sounds good. It sounds like you have it planned well. It sounds like you're wanting to get it out there at a certain date. It's like a launch that businesses do. That's what it sounds like.
Well, yeah, I mean, so in the state of North Dakota, you have to fill out a form 17700 form, and you need 7,000 good signatures of residents to launch a new political party. And then if you are a recognized party by the state, you can front people on the ballot without having to get the signatures as if you were just independently going on the ballot. Like if you wanted to be a city commissioner in Fargo, you need 300 signatures. You need 10,000 signatures if you want an independent for the governor. So if you've got a party established, you can front people without having to perpetually be hunting for signatures. But then you can also run your own primaries as well.
Okay. So in North Dakota, right now the recognized parties are obviously the Republican, the Democrat, are Libertarians recognized too?
They are, but they really don't have a presence. My ultimate goal would be, because I've noticed the Mises Caucus has started really putting a lot of ground game into a lot of states, and we have a lot of alignment as far as certain policy positions go that I think would be beneficial if we worked in concert with them instead of ending up in a situation where the Mises people come in and they really slam home their party ideals, and basically we would end up getting shoved to the side, and I don't want that. I would love for them to come in and be like, okay, you guys are basically doing what we want to do, so let's help you actualize that, in more of a symbiotic relationship than a competitive one.
Sure. That's a wise way to do it, it sounds like.
Yeah, there's a couple very small independent groups that are in the state that they're not official parties, but they canvass from time to time and get signatures to front a candidate as an independent. And we'd like to actually be recognized to it'll simplify the process.
That sounds like a good plan and a good goal.
Yeah, I'm very much of as my grandfather always said to me, keep it simple, stupid. And I mean, he taught me that since I was real little. So when things get needlessly complicated, even at the state and local level, I don't like that, because if I don't understand it, I can't make an informed decision about it. So I'm very big into making sure that I read as much as I can on a topic before I make a decision about it. So that way I have a very clear picture of which direction I want to go on any of the hot button issues. And that's how we as a party would also like to operate, is very simplistic. Government doesn't need to be needlessly complicated, and it shouldn't be, because all that does is serve to obfuscate what they're trying to do from the public. At least that's my perception of it. If you make something needlessly complicated, it's a to me it's an ideal way to hide something, and we don't want to hide anything.
You want to be out in the open.
Yeah, government has always been keeping its secrets, and that doesn't serve the public at all. Yeah, there's a time and a place for that, in times of war and what have you. But we shouldn't have bills that are going through the government that nobody has time to read. That it only serves the people who are making that legislation. It serves none of the public in that aspect.
So how can our listeners support your party, whether they live in North Dakota or elsewhere?
Well, currently our main focus is a lot of getting the word out there. I mean,
Okay.
we have the petition up and running, but given COVID and other restrictions, it has been difficult to garner signatures. So we're looking to spread our message so that people know they can actually find us and sign our petition and get us, into the fray of things. One of our other goals as a party is to drag this state kicking and screaming into the 21st century, because as it stands currently, you cannot petition the state of North Dakota unless you have hard physical signatures on paper. We would love to move to a more of a style like, how you can petition the government through like a White House petition, and then if you have enough signatures, then they have to actually talk about it.
Okay. So North Dakota right now requires physical signatures.
Yep, physical signatures for everything.
Did they alter that in any way for COVID-19?
Nope. They dug their heels in during one of the legislative sessions and said, we are not changing this just because of COVID. And I mean, I get that, because I could see where some shenanigans could come into play. But if it's in forms of petition signing, I don't see how that particularly would be an issue. I could see it being a problem for voting and other legislation like that. But it's not conducive when we're as sparsely populated a state as we are.
What's your population right now?
Last census was 760,000 and change. So,
Yeah.
so it's not like there's a whole lot of us, but there's a lot of space in between all of us. So there's a lot of open prairie.
Yes. And your state is very big geographically.
Yeah, it is 350 miles east to west, and there's a stark contrast between the way people live out in the western part of the state and the way people live out in the eastern part of the state. In the eastern part of the state, in the I-29 corridor, you have Fargo, Grand Forks, and Wahpeton. All three have fairly large universities, NDSU being in Fargo, UND being in Grand Forks. And they get those cities have a lot of influence from like more the Minnesota side of things. A lot of kids from Minneapolis come up and then they go to university out here because it's a lot cheaper, and then they stay here, and then they enact Minneapolis style policies for somewhere that isn't nearly as large, and the will of those particular individuals pretty much dies the second you leave the city limits.
Interesting. You mentioned a Facebook page. What is the handle for the Facebook page?
The handle for the Facebook page is North Dakota Heritage Party. Our web designer is in the process of linking all of the other socials with our website. So we'll have our Facebook page, but we're also going to, eventually in the next week, we'll have a Twitter up and running. We'll have a YouTube channel up and running. Probably BitShooter Odyssey, probably a Minds account. you know, maybe a Gab, maybe a Parler, basically branching out so we're not just sitting in individual echo chambers. We want to get our message to anyone who can basically hear it.
Sure. That sounds good. Thank you, Devin, for coming on the podcast today. We wish you all the best with your website launch on December 1st, 2021, and all your party's future endeavors.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All the best and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye now.